The coffee machine at Sterling Whitmore sounds like a dying animal. It's a wheezing, gurgling death rattle that eventually spits out a brown liquid vaguely resembling coffee. I swear, you could get a better cup of joe by wringing out a dirty sock. I'd rather drink actual sewer water. But hey, at least I have a private office to drink it in, private, with a window that looks out over the city instead of a concrete wall. So I guess I'll drink the damn sludge. I'm Amelia Vance, by the way. Just some girl from a town in Ohio you've never heard of, now a junior data analyst at this corporate monster. And none of this makes any sense. The office, I mean. The one with the ergonomic chair and the real, living plant that someone else waters. I'm a nobody, a rookie. People who've been here for 5 years are still stuck in the cubicle farm, the analyst pit, they call it, listening to each other chew. But me? I get a door that closes. It's not just the office. My proposals, the ones I sometimes write half asleep at 2 in the morning, they get approved. Instantly. Last week, I submitted a market projection based on, and I am not kidding, the migratory patterns of Canadian geese. I was bored. I wanted to see what would happen. My direct supervisor, Mr. Henderson, signed off on it in under an hour with a note that just said, "Fascinating angle, Vance." Fascinating angle? I pulled it out of my ass. The seniors nod to me in the hallways. The VPs, the ones with tailored suits that cost more than my car, they actually say, "Good morning, Amelia," before I can even get a word out. And everyone else, they just watch. Their eyes follow me when I walk to the printer. They stop talking when I enter the break room. I hear the whispers when I think they can't. Princess Amelia, the crown princess. Their smiles are tight, stretched thin over their teeth. It's enough to make a person go nuts, to make you think you're losing your mind. I know I'm not special. My work is fine, it's competent, but it's not genius. I'm just a girl who was good at math. There's 1,000 of me. So, to stop myself from checking into a psychiatric facility, I hold on to the one thing that makes it all click into place. My little story. It has to be Julian Sterling. It's the only explanation. You remember me telling you, right? About when I was 8? My family was visiting some distant relative, and I wandered off. Ended up in the woods behind the huge, terrifying Sterling estate. It got dark fast. The trees looked like giants with too many arms, and every snap of a twig was a monster. I hid behind a rock, crying, trying to be quiet. I saw a shadow moving between the trees. It was tall, taller than a man, and wrong somehow, the shape of it. I told myself it was just a deer, a big deer. Then, just when I thought my heart was going to explode, he found me, a park ranger. He had the kindest smile, all crinkles around his eyes, and a deep, calm voice that just washed all the fear away. He didn't ask a lot of questions, just took my hand and led me out. And when we got to the edge of the woods, I saw a boy standing by the big iron fence of the estate. Julian Sterling. He was just standing there, watching us. He saw the whole thing. So yeah, destiny, fate, whatever. He remembers the lost little girl. And now he's my silent guardian, my corporate fairy godmother. It sounds stupid when I say it out loud, but it's a better explanation than "I'm secretly a genius" or "everyone in this building has lost their minds." It's my little piece of solid ground in all this craziness. It keeps me sane. Most of the time. Julian and I don't talk. We've never had a real conversation. It's just nods, a brief, almost imperceptible dip of his chin when we passed in the lobby. His eyes are intense, a dark gray that seems to see right through you. But the gifts, they're something else. Not flowers or candy, they're stranger. A few weeks ago, I was in the elevator with 2 guys from marketing. I was complaining, just making small talk. God, this quarterly report would take half the time if I had the Spectron 5000 software suite, but that thing costs more than my student loans. I was just bitching. It meant nothing. The next morning, I turned on my computer. There it was, a new icon on my desktop, Spectron 5000. My blood ran cold. I checked my email. A message from IT sent at 3:47 a.m. The subject line was blank. The body just said, "New software installed per special request." I stared at the screen, my hand frozen on the mouse. My fingers felt like ice. A special request? Whose special request? It happened again last week. I get these awful migraines sometimes. It feels like someone is hammering a nail into my right temple. The light from the monitor becomes a physical pain. I hadn't told anyone. You don't show weakness here. You just chug coffee and pretend you're fine. I was at my desk, subtly rubbing my temples, trying to breathe through the waves of nausea. A soft knock on my door. It was an assistant from the executive floor, a girl I'd never seen before. She was holding a tray. On it was a steaming mug and a small bottle of painkillers. "Miss Vance," she said, her voice a polite whisper, "Mr. Sterling's office sent this for you, ginger and mint tea. He said it might help." She placed it on my desk and left before I could even process what was happening. I looked at the tea. Ginger and mint, my grandmother's old remedy, the one I've used since I was a teenager. I looked at the bottle of pills. It was the exact over-the-counter brand I use, the only one that works for me. How? How in the hell could he know that? I didn't drink the tea. I just sat there, the steam warming my face, and stared at the door. The fancy wood grain seemed to ripple. The silence in my private office was suddenly loud, heavy. It felt like it was pressing in on me. Last night, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Sarah, my only real friend here. We started on the same day, but she's still in the pit. Sarah, heard you got the Q3 lead projections? Congrats! Me, yeah, Henderson called it innovative. I think my main innovation was being awake at 3 a.m. Sarah, LOL, seriously though, how do you do it? Everyone's talking. Me, I just work hard. Sarah, bullshit. Julian Sterling is obsessed with you. It's the only explanation. My thumbs hovered over the screen. I typed out my usual defense. Me, it's not like that. We have a history. It's kind of a long story. A few seconds passed. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Sarah, geez, Amy, does that guy have a camera installed in your head or something? It's not romantic. It's kind of creepy. I laughed. I actually typed out, ha ha. Me, you've been watching too many thrillers. It's sweet. But I wasn't laughing. I was staring at her last word. Creepy. The word just hung there on the screen. It felt sharp. It cut through the pretty story I'd built for myself, the one with the kind ranger and the fated encounter. It left a tiny little crack in the foundation. I put the phone down. The lights of the city outside my window blurred into a smear of color. For the first time, standing in my beautiful, unearned office, I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. The memory of the woods came back, but this time it felt different. I wasn't focused on the ranger's kind smile. I was thinking about the shadow between the trees, tall and wrong, and the boy who just stood there, watching. Sarah's words stuck to my brain like gum on a hot sidewalk. Creepy. It wasn't sweet. It wasn't destiny. It was creepy. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The next day, I started watching him back, Julian Sterling. I'd see him across the lobby, talking to some executive who looked like he was about to piss himself. Julian would be perfectly still, listening, and his eyes, they weren't engaged. They weren't angry or happy or bored. They were just processing, like the lens of a camera, just taking in data. When he passed me in the hall, that slight dip of his chin wasn't a greeting anymore.
It felt like an acknowledgement. A scientist nodding at his pet mouse in its cage. Subject is proceeding as expected. I tried to rationalize it. Of course he knew about the migraine tea. He's rich. He probably has an army of assistants who dig up personal details on everyone. It's a power move, standard corporate billionaire bullshit. And the software? Maybe he overheard me. The elevators have cameras, probably microphones too, right? It was possible. It had to be possible, because the alternative was something my brain refused to touch. I was lying to myself. I knew it. But the lie was comfortable. The lie let me sleep. Until my laptop died. It happened on a Wednesday night.
I had a huge projections report due Friday morning, the kind that Henderson would call career-defining, which really just meant it was a ton of work. And my trusty 5-year-old laptop just gave up. A flicker, a sad little fizzing sound, and then nothing. Black screen, dead. Stone cold dead. Panic set in, the real chest-tightening kind. All my preliminary data, my notes, my framework, gone. I could go to the office, but the servers with the raw data were down for maintenance until Thursday afternoon. I was screwed, completely and utterly screwed. I spent an hour trying to resurrect the damn thing before giving up and just sitting on my floor, head in my hands. Around midnight, my phone pinged, an email. The sender was just a random string of letters and numbers, no subject, just a single attachment, a zip file. My first thought was virus. My second thought was, who the hell is this? I almost deleted it, but something made me stop, a cold little worm of curiosity. I downloaded the file. It was password protected, of course. I stared at the prompt. What password? I tried my usuals, my birthday, my dog's name, password 123, nothing. I was about to give up when a thought surfaced from the deepest, dustiest part of my memory. A stupid, childish name I hadn't thought about in 20 years. My hands were shaking. This is dumb, I told myself. This is so dumb. I typed it in. WHISKERS 7. The file unzipped. I felt the blood drain from my face. Whiskers. My cat. My first pet. A fluffy gray thing that got hit by a car when I was 6. I cried for a week. My mom told me he'd gone to a farm upstate. I hadn't told a single living soul that name. Not my parents, not my friends, no one. It was my secret, my stupid, childish secret. Inside the folder was a single spreadsheet. I clicked it open. It was my project, all of it. The raw data was there, cleaned and sorted. The projection models were already built, more elegant and efficient than anything I could have designed. The final report was written, formatted in the official Sterling Whitmore template, complete with charts and executive summaries. It was perfect, fucking perfect. I slammed my phone down on the carpet and backed away from it like it was a snake. I couldn't breathe. My heart was a jackhammer against my ribs. How the fuck did he know that? The question hammered at my skull, over and over. The next 2 days were a blur. I submitted the report. Henderson sent me an email full of exclamation points. I got a bonus. I felt nothing. I walked through the office like a ghost. Every shadow in the corner of my eye was a person watching me. Every quiet conversation was about me. On Friday afternoon, I left work early, needing to get out, to walk, to feel the sun on my skin, and pretend I was a normal person. I was at a crosswalk downtown, waiting for the light. I was distracted, replaying the email, the password, over and over in my head. The little white walking man lit up. I stepped into the street. My head was turned to the right, watching the cars on the far side, a bad habit I've had my whole life. A horn blared, deafeningly loud. I looked left. A huge yellow delivery truck was bearing down on me, way too fast. It hadn't seen the red light. My body froze. My feet were glued to the asphalt. This is it, I thought. Then, an arm wrapped around my waist like a steel band.
I was yanked backward so hard my teeth rattled. I stumbled and fell onto the sidewalk just as the truck roared past, its wind tearing at my hair. I looked up, gasping for air. A man in a plain black suit was standing over me. He hadn't broken a sweat. He just looked at me, a quick, assessing glance, then turned and melted back into the lunchtime crowd. He was gone before I could even say thank you. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text, unknown number. Always look left. I started shaking, not from the near-death experience, from the text. It wasn't a warning. It was a statement, a demonstration. We see you. We know your weaknesses. We are always there. I felt like an animal with a tracking collar on. No, worse. I felt like a bug under a magnifying glass. I didn't feel safe. I felt owned. The breaking point came the following Monday. I was in my office on a video conference with the London team. Standard stuff. We were going over Q4 revenue streams. I was trying to focus, trying to pretend my entire world wasn't tilting on its axis. My screen flickered.
Just for a second. The faces of my British colleagues vanished. The pie charts disappeared. For less than a heartbeat, my monitor was filled with a different image. It was dark, grainy, a video shot at night. Trees, a forest, and between the trees something was moving, a shape. It was tall, taller than a man, and the way it moved was wrong, unjointed, a silhouette against the gloom. It was the shadow from my memory. Then, just as quickly, the screen flickered back. A man named Nigel was talking about European markets. I stared at the screen, my mouth dry. I looked at the other little windows of my colleagues. No one reacted. No one flinched. It was just me. It was just for me. I sat there, frozen, the sound of my own blood roaring in my ears. The story I'd told myself, the one with the kind ranger and the little boy watching from a distance, it shattered. It exploded into a million tiny pieces. The ranger wasn't the hero. The shadow wasn't a deer. The shadow was the point. That was it. I was done. Done being watched, done being manipulated, done being a specimen in some sick experiment. I needed an answer. I waited until 5 o'clock. I knew he parked in the executive garage in the sub-level. I took the elevator down, my stomach churning. The garage was quiet, echoing with the drip of water somewhere in the darkness. I saw his car, a black sedan that probably cost more than my apartment building. And I saw him, walking toward it, briefcase in hand. I stepped out from behind a concrete pillar. "Mr. Sterling." He stopped. He didn't seem surprised. He just turned and looked at me. Those eyes, flat, no light in them at all. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Do we, Ms. Vance?" he asked. His voice was calm, so calm. "The email, the man on the street. Don't play games with me. What do you want?" He took a step closer. He didn't smile. He didn't do anything but look at me, his gaze so intense it felt like a physical weight. "I think," he said slowly, "that everything is proceeding exactly as it should." He didn't answer the question. He didn't deny anything. He just stated a fact. He started to walk past me. I couldn't let it go. "Who are you?" I whispered, the words barely coming out. He paused beside me, his shoulder almost brushing mine. I could smell his cologne, something clean and sharp and cold. "Be at the gala at the estate this weekend," he said, his voice low, not looking at me. "It's an important place. For you." Then he got in his car and drove away, leaving me standing alone in the quiet, damp air of the garage. It wasn't an invitation. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a summons. And I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that whatever answers I was looking for, they were waiting for me there, back at the edge of those woods.
The summons. That's what it was. Driving up the winding lane to the Sterling estate, I felt like a lamb being delivered to the slaughterhouse. A very pretty, well-manicured slaughterhouse, but the feeling was the same. The house wasn't just a house. It was a fortress of old money, all stone and dark wood and sprawling wings that blotted out the stars. It looked exactly like I remembered, only bigger, more permanent. I handed my keys to a valet who looked like he'd never seen a 10-year-old Honda before and walked inside. The noise hit me first. A wave of laughter, clinking glasses, and a string quartet playing something I'm pretty sure was a Taylor Swift song. The air was thick, with the smell of expensive perfume and roasted duck. People drifted past, in silks and tuxedos, their faces smooth and smiling. It was a world away from my tiny apartment and my dead laptop. My fear wasn't the sweaty palms, jump at shadows kind anymore. It was cold, a hard little knot in my gut. I wasn't here to mingle. I was a moth drawn to a flame. And I fucking knew, I was going to get burned. I just needed to see how. I needed an answer. I got a glass of champagne from a passing waiter, just to have something to do with my hands. They were shaking. Not a lot, but enough that I noticed. I scanned the crowd, looking for him. It didn't take long. He was on the grand terrace, a wide stone balcony overlooking the gardens. He wasn't talking to anyone. He just stood there, a glass of something dark in his hand, looking out past the manicured lawns, past the fountains, toward the black wall of the forest.
He looked like a king surveying his lands. No, that wasn't right. He looked like a warden watching over his prison. The air in the ballroom was getting thin. All the fake smiles and polite chatter were starting to make my skin crawl. I needed out. I set my untouched champagne on a table and pushed through a set of glass doors, stepping out into the cool night air. I didn't mean to walk toward the woods, I really didn't, but my feet just sort of took me there, past the rose bushes and the perfectly trimmed hedges, down a gravel path that crunched under my stupidly uncomfortable heels. The sounds of the party faded behind me, replaced by the chirping of crickets and the whisper of the wind in the trees. The edge of the forest was exactly where I remembered it, a line between order and chaos. An old man was kneeling by a flower bed, carefully pruning something with a pair of shears. He wore simple work clothes and had a kind, weathered face. He looked normal. He looked real. He was the most real thing I'd seen all night. A final, desperate piece of my old self clawed its way to the surface. The part that wanted the story to be true. The part that needed the kind ranger to exist. Maybe I could just ask, get a confirmation, put this whole crazy thing to bed. I forced a smile. It felt like cracking plaster. "Beautiful gardens," I said, my voice sounding weirdly high. He looked up, startled, then gave me a gentle smile. "Thank you, miss. The Sterling family takes great pride in them." "I can imagine." I took a step closer, my heart starting to hammer against my ribs. Just say it. Just ask. "You know, it's funny. I got lost in these woods when I was a little girl." I tried for a light, nostalgic laugh. It came out like a strangled cough. "A long time ago. I was so scared. But one of your rangers found me. He was so nice, led me right out." I waited. I just needed him to nod, to say something like, "Oh, that must have been Old Bill," or, "Yeah, we used to have rangers back then." That's all I needed. A little piece of solid ground to stand on. The gardener stopped snipping. He looked at me, a puzzled expression on his face. Then he chuckled. It was a warm, harmless sound that destroyed my entire life. "A ranger?" he said, his eyes crinkling at the corners.
"That's a funny one, miss. This here has been private Sterling land for over 100 years. We've never had any rangers work in this area, not once." The ground didn't fall out from under me. The world didn't spin. It was worse. Everything just stopped. The chirping crickets, the wind, the blood in my veins. It all just stopped. His words hung in the air, echoing in the sudden total silence of my mind. No. Ranger. If there was no ranger, then whose calm, deep voice had told me everything would be okay? Whose warm smile had made me feel safe? The tall, dark shape, the thing moving between the trees, the thing that moved all wrong? My hero. That kind face I'd clung to for 20 years. Were they the same? Oh, God, they were the same. And Julian, standing at the edge of the trees, just watching. He wasn't a witness to a rescue. He was an observer, making sure the specimen was returned safely to its enclosure. The Sterling family hadn't taken a special interest in me. They were keeping tabs on me. I was standing there, frozen, my heels sinking into the soft earth at the edge of the forest. I don't know when the gardener left. One moment he was there. The next, I was alone. The darkness between the trees wasn't a terrifying unknown thing anymore. It felt familiar, horribly, terribly familiar, like coming home. From across the lawn, on the terrace of the mansion, a movement caught my eye. It was Julian. He was still there, still watching me. He knew I'd come here. He knew what I would find out. As I stared, he slowly, deliberately raised his glass. It wasn't a toast. It was an acknowledgement. Welcome back. My mind was a hurricane of one single repeating thought, a question that pounded and pounded until there was nothing else left. If it wasn't a ranger, then what the hell was the thing that saved me and has been waiting for me to return?